The difference between me and most people is not what I do. It's how I think. People study my actions. They analyze my investments. They copy my portfolio. They read about my daily routine, what I eat for breakfast, what time I wake up. None of that matters, not really. What matters is the thinking that produces those actions, the mental patterns, the way of seeing the world, the cognitive framework that makes certain decisions obvious and others unthinkable. You could copy every external thing about my life and still fail, because you'd be copying outputs, not inputs, results, not causes. The cause is thinking. Everything else is effect. I've spent 70 years refining how I think, not just about investing, about everything, about time, about risk, about opportunity, about value, about life itself. This thinking is what made me wealthy, not intelligence. I know plenty of intelligent poor people, not education. Some of the richest people I know never finished college, not luck. Luck helps, but it doesn't sustain. Thinking. The patterns in my mind that shape every decision I make. Today I'm going to show you these patterns, not what billionaires do, what billionaires think. The mental models that separate extraordinary results from ordinary ones. If you can install these patterns in your own mind, you won't need to copy anyone's actions. You'll naturally take the right actions because you'll think in ways that make right actions obvious. This is more valuable than any stock tip, any investment advice, any tactical recommendation. This is the source code. Everything else is just the output. The first pattern: billionaires think in decades. Everyone else thinks in days. Ask an average person about their plans, and they'll tell you about this week, maybe this month, perhaps this year if they're unusually organized. Ask a billionaire about their plans, and they'll tell you about the next 20 years, the next 50 years, what they're building that will outlast them. This difference in time horizon changes everything. When you think in days, you optimize for immediate results. What feels good now? What pays off quickly? What solves today's problem? When you think in decades, you optimize for compounding. What builds over time? What creates lasting value? What will matter in 20 years? These optimizations often contradict each other. The daily thinker takes the higher-paying job with no growth potential. It pays more now. The decade thinker takes the lower-paying job with massive learning. It pays more later. The daily thinker spends the bonus on something enjoyable. It feels good now. The decade thinker invests the bonus in assets. It feels better in 20 years. The daily thinker reacts to market fluctuations, sells when prices drop, buys when prices rise. The decade thinker ignores market fluctuations, holds through everything, lets compound interest work. I've held some investments for 50 years. 50 years. When I bought them, I wasn't thinking about next quarter or next year. I was thinking about the next half century. That time horizon made the decision easy. Short-term volatility became irrelevant. Business quality became everything. The question wasn't, what will the stock do next month? It was, will this business be excellent in 50 years? Most people can't think this way. Not because they're incapable, because they've never practiced. They've trained themselves to think short-term through years of short-term thinking. But it can be changed. You can stretch your time horizon deliberately. Before any decision, ask, how will this look in 10 years? In 20 years? In 50 years? The answer often reverses the obvious choice. What seems smart today looks foolish from a decade away. What seems foolish today looks brilliant from a decade away. Train yourself to see from that distance. Make decisions from that vantage point. Train yourself to think in decades, and decades will reward you. The second pattern: billionaires think in probabilities. Everyone else thinks in certainties. Most people want to know what will happen. They want predictions, guarantees, certainty about the future. This is impossible. The future is uncertain. Anyone who claims certainty is lying or deluded. Billionaires understand this. They don't ask what will happen. They ask, what are the odds of different outcomes? This shift is profound. When you think in certainties, you're either right or wrong. You make a prediction. Reality either matches it or doesn't. Binary, all or nothing. When you think in probabilities, you're never completely right or wrong. You estimated a 70% chance and it happened. You were appropriately confident. You estimated 70% and it didn't happen. That's the 30%, and you knew it was possible. This mindset is more accurate and more useful. Consider an investment. The certainty thinker says this stock will go up or this stock will go down. One statement will be right, one will be wrong. The probability thinker says there's a 70% chance this stock doubles in 5 years and a 30% chance it loses half its value. Then they calculate the expected value. 70% times double plus 30% times half equals positive expected value. They invest. If the stock loses value, the certainty thinker was wrong. The probability thinker wasn't wrong. They knew there was a 30% chance of this outcome. They made the right decision even though the outcome was unfavorable. This is how I think about every investment. Not will it work, but what are the odds it works and what are the payoffs for each outcome? Sometimes I'm on the wrong side of probability. A 30% event happens. I lose money. But I don't regret the decision because the decision was correct given the information available. Over time, good probability thinking wins. Not every time. Over time, the law of large numbers ensures that good probability assessments outperform bad ones across many decisions. Most people can't handle this. They want to be right every time. They feel like a failure when a good decision produces a bad outcome. This emotional need for certainty leads to terrible decisions. People avoid all risk because they can't handle being on the wrong side of probability, or they take excessive risk because they've convinced themselves they're certain about uncertain things. Train yourself to think in odds, to estimate probabilities explicitly, to make decisions based on expected value across outcomes rather than predictions of single outcomes. This is uncomfortable. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it's reality. And operating in reality beats operating in fantasy every time. The third pattern, billionaires think in systems. Everyone else thinks in events. An event is something that happens once. You do it, it's done, you move on. A system is something that happens repeatedly. You build it once, it keeps producing results forever. Most people fill their lives with events. They solve each problem as it arises. They handle each task as it comes. They respond to circumstances continuously. Billionaires build systems. They create structures that solve problems automatically, that produce results without continuous intervention, that work while they sleep. The difference compounds dramatically over time. The event thinker earns money by working. Each hour produces one payment. Stop working, stop earning. The system thinker builds businesses. The business earns money continuously. Stop working, keep earning. Build more systems, earn more continuously. This applies beyond business. The event thinker makes each investment decision individually. Research, analysis, decision. Repeat for every investment. The system thinker creates investment criteria, a checklist, a process. Investments either meet the criteria or they don't. The system makes most decisions automatically. The event thinker responds to each email as it arrives. Constant interruption, constant reaction. The system thinker creates email processes, templates for common responses, filters for priority, batching for efficiency. The system handles most emails without thought. My investment system has been largely unchanged for decades. I know what I'm looking for. I know what disqualifies a business. I know my criteria. When an investment opportunity arrives, I run it through the system. Does it meet the criteria? Yes or no? This takes minutes, not days. The system does the work. Most opportunities fail the system immediately. They don't have durable competitive advantages. They're too expensive. The industry is wrong, rejected in minutes. The rare opportunities that pass the system get deeper analysis, but the system has already filtered 99% of possibilities. My time goes only to the 1% that might be exceptional. This is leverage. This is how you multiply your effectiveness. Not by working harder on events, but by building systems that handle events for you. Ask yourself, what am I doing repeatedly that could be systematized? What decisions am I making over and over that could follow a process? What problems am I solving individually that could be solved once for all similar problems? Build the system. Let the system work. Use the freed time to build more systems. This is how one person accomplishes what seems like the work of 100 people. not by working 100 times harder, by building systems that multiply everything they do. The fourth pattern, billionaires see opportunities where others see obstacles. Every situation has both. Every problem contains a potential solution. Every crisis contains a potential advantage. The question is which you focus on. Most people focus on obstacles. They see what's wrong, what's difficult, what's preventing them from success. This focus creates paralysis. The obstacles seem overwhelming. The difficulties seem insurmountable. Action seems pointless. Billionaires focus on opportunities. They see what's possible, what could be gained, what advantages might be hidden in the difficulty. This focus creates action. The opportunities seem valuable. The potential seems worth pursuing. Action seems essential. Same situation, different focus, completely different response. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, most people saw catastrophe. Banks failing, markets crashing, economy collapsing. The focus was on obstacles, on what was being lost, on how bad things were. I saw opportunity. Excellent companies trading at once-in-a-decade prices. Fear creating bargains that logic never would. The chance to buy ownership of great businesses at extraordinary discounts. While others panicked, I invested. While others sold, I bought. While others focused on obstacles, I focused on opportunities. Was the crisis real? Absolutely. Were the obstacles genuine? Of course. But the opportunities were also real and genuine. The question was which to act on. This isn't optimism. I'm not suggesting you ignore problems or pretend difficulties don't exist. That's delusion. This is selective focus. Acknowledging obstacles while choosing to spend your mental energy on opportunities. Seeing both but acting on the one that creates value. Every obstacle you face contains an opportunity. Every problem that frustrates you is a problem that frustrates others and might be a business waiting to be built. Every difficulty in your industry is a chance to outperform competitors who are paralyzed by that difficulty. Train yourself to ask, what opportunity is hidden in this obstacle? What advantage could I gain from this difficulty? What is everyone else missing because they're focused on what's wrong? The answers aren't always obvious. Sometimes they take time to find, but they exist. They always exist. The people who find them become wealthy. The people who don't see only obstacles. The fifth pattern, billionaires think in value. Everyone else thinks in price. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. They're not the same thing. Most people are obsessed with price. They want to know how much something costs. They compare prices. They seek lower prices. They judge purchases by price alone. This is backwards. Price without value is meaningless. A cheap thing with no value is expensive. An expensive thing with high value is cheap. The equation that matters is value divided by price. The ratio. What you get relative to what you pay. A stock at $10 might be expensive. A stock at $100 might be cheap. Depends entirely on the value of the underlying business. I've bought stocks at what seemed like high prices because the value was much higher. I've rejected stocks at what seemed like low prices because the value was much lower. Price is visible. It's on the tag, on the screen, in the listing. Anyone can see price. Value is invisible. It requires analysis, understanding, insight. Few people do the work to see value. This is why markets misprice things constantly. Everyone can see the price. Few can see the value. The gap between price and value creates opportunity. When I analyze a business, I spend very little time on the current stock price. I spend almost all my time on the business value. What is this company worth? What will it be worth in 10 years? What are the assets, the earnings, the competitive advantages? Only after I understand value do I look at price. And then I ask one question. Is the price significantly below the value? If yes, I might buy. If no, I move on. The price alone tells me nothing. This applies beyond investing. The value thinker doesn't buy the cheapest option. They buy the best value, the highest ratio of quality to cost. The value thinker doesn't take the highest paying job. They take the best value, the highest ratio of opportunity to time invested. The value thinker doesn't pursue the easiest goal. They pursue the best value, the highest ratio of fulfillment to effort required. Train yourself to separate price from value, to analyze what you're actually getting, not just what you're paying, to seek high ratios, not low prices. This requires more work, more thought, more analysis, but it leads to dramatically better decisions in every domain of life. The sixth pattern: billionaires think in ownership. Everyone else thinks in labor. Labor exchanges time for money. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Stop working, stop getting paid. Ownership generates money from assets. The assets work, you get paid. Stop working personally, keep getting paid. This is the fundamental divide. Workers trade time for money. Owners make money from things they own. No amount of labor makes you wealthy. You can work 100 hours a week at a high wage and still never be rich, because your income is limited by your time, and time is limited. Ownership makes you wealthy, because ownership isn't limited by time. A business can operate 24 hours a day. Stocks can appreciate while you sleep. Real estate can generate rent whether you're present or not. I don't work for income. I own things that generate income. The stocks I hold pay dividends. The businesses I control generate profits. These income streams flow regardless of what I do today. If I stopped working entirely tomorrow, my wealth would continue growing, because my wealth isn't based on my labor. It's based on my ownership. This shift in thinking changes everything. The labor thinker asks, how can I earn more per hour? How can I work more hours? How can I become more valuable as an employee? The ownership thinker asks, what can I own that generates income? How can I acquire more assets? How can I convert my labor income into ownership? Both paths can provide a good living. Only one path provides wealth. Only one path provides freedom. Only one path compounds indefinitely. Most people are trapped in labor thinking because it's all they know. Their parents labored, their friends labor. Society assumes that income comes from work. But look at any wealthy person. Look at their income sources. It's not labor, it's ownership, businesses, investments, real estate, intellectual property, assets that produce regardless of hours worked. The goal isn't to become a better worker. The goal is to become an owner, to acquire things that pay you, to build a portfolio of income-generating assets. This doesn't mean stop working. It means work with a different purpose. Work to acquire ownership. Use labor income to buy assets. Convert active income into passive income over time. The person who earns $100,000 a year and spends it all has nothing but next year's labor. The person who earns $100,000 a year and converts half into ownership has a growing pile of assets that will eventually replace their labor income entirely. Same income, different thinking, completely different outcomes. The seventh pattern: billionaires think in learning. Everyone else thinks in knowing. Most people want to be the person who knows, the expert, the one with answers. They acquire knowledge and then defend it. They build an identity around what they know. This is a trap. The world changes. Knowledge becomes obsolete. The person who stops learning stops growing. Billionaires think in learning. They assume they don't know enough. They seek new information constantly. They're willing to be wrong because being wrong is how you learn. I read 5 to 6 hours every day. I've done this for decades. I read annual reports, newspapers, books, industry publications, anything that might teach me something. At 93, I'm still learning, still updating my understanding, still finding that I was wrong about things I thought I knew. This isn't humility for its own sake. It's strategic advantage. The world is too complex for anyone to understand fully. The person who thinks they know is working with incomplete and outdated information. The person who keeps learning is continuously updating their model of reality. Continuous learning compounds like money. Each new thing you learn connects to things you already know. It deepens understanding. It creates insights that wouldn't be possible with less knowledge. The person who learned for 40 years has an unbeatable advantage over the person who learned for 4 years and coasted for 36. The knowledge gap is enormous and growing. But there's something deeper here. Learning requires admitting you don't know. It requires intellectual humility. It requires being comfortable with uncertainty and ignorance. Most people find this uncomfortable. They want to feel competent. They want to be respected for their expertise. Admitting ignorance threatens their identity. The wealthy don't tie their identity to knowing. They tie their identity to learning. Being wrong isn't a threat. It's information. Being ignorant isn't shameful. It's an opportunity. Charlie Munger taught me this. He's always saying we should be learning machines, that our job is to go to bed every night a little wiser than we woke up. This mindset keeps you growing when others stagnate. It keeps you relevant when others become obsolete. It keeps you improving when others plateau. Ask yourself, am I still learning? Am I uncomfortable with what I don't know? Am I actively seeking to be proven wrong? If not, you've started dying intellectually. And intellectual death eventually becomes financial death. The world changes around you while you stand still. Keep learning. Forever. It's the only way to keep winning. The eighth pattern. Billionaires think independently. Everyone else thinks in consensus. Consensus is what everyone believes. The common wisdom. The popular opinion. The safe position that won't get you criticized. Most people follow consensus. They believe what others believe. They do what others do. They find safety in numbers. This is a recipe for average results. If you think like everyone else, you'll get what everyone else gets. By definition, exceptional results require exceptional thinking, and exceptional thinking is, by definition, non-consensus, different from what everyone believes. Every great investment I've made was non-consensus at the time. When I bought Coca-Cola in 1988, many thought I was wrong. When I avoided tech stocks in the late 90s, everyone thought I was foolish. When I invested heavily in 2008, people thought I was crazy. If I had followed consensus, I would have achieved consensus results. Average, ordinary, unremarkable. But independence is hard, very hard. Humans are social creatures. We're wired to conform, to agree with the group, to avoid the discomfort of standing alone. When everyone believes something and you believe the opposite, you feel the pressure constantly. People question you. People mock you. People treat you like you're stupid or crazy. Most people can't handle this pressure. They cave. They conform. They sacrifice their independent judgment to avoid social discomfort. The wealthy learn to tolerate this discomfort, to trust their own analysis even when it contradicts everyone else, to be comfortable being wrong in public if they believe they're actually right. This doesn't mean being contrarian for its own sake, disagreeing with consensus because it feels rebellious or special. That's just inverse conformity. True independence is agreeing or disagreeing with consensus based on your own analysis. Sometimes consensus is right and you agree. Sometimes consensus is wrong and you disagree. The determining factor is your judgment, not the crowd's position. This requires confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. The belief that your analysis has value, that your judgment is worth trusting, that you can see things others miss, and it requires process, a reliable way of analyzing situations that you trust more than popular opinion. When your process says one thing and consensus says another, you follow your process. I have investing principles I've followed for decades. When those principles conflict with market consensus, I follow the principles. Not because I'm stubborn, because I've tested the principles and I trust them more than I trust the crowd. Develop your own principles. Test them, refine them, and then have the courage to follow them even when everyone disagrees. The crowd is wrong more often than you'd think. The person who can see that and act on it captures the opportunities that everyone else misses. The ninth and final pattern. Billionaires think in abundance. Everyone else thinks in scarcity. Scarcity thinking says there's not enough money, not enough opportunities, not enough success to go around. If someone else wins, you lose. Life is zero-sum. Abundance thinking says there's plenty of money, plenty of opportunities, plenty of success available. Someone else winning doesn't mean you lose. Life is positive sum. These mindsets create their own reality. The scarcity thinker hoards. They protect what they have. They view others as competitors. They make fearful decisions to avoid loss. The abundance thinker invests. They deploy what they have. They view others as potential partners. They make confident decisions to capture opportunity. Same world, different perception, different actions. different outcomes. Scarcity thinking is contagious. If you grow up around people who think there's not enough, you absorb that thinking. If your environment says opportunities are rare, you believe opportunities are rare, but it's not reality. It's a filter on reality. And the filter can be changed. I've never thought there weren't enough opportunities. In 70 years of investing, I've never felt like the good businesses would run out, that the chances would disappear, that I needed to grab everything before someone else got it. There's always another opportunity, always another excellent business, always another undervalued asset. The supply of opportunity is infinite over a long enough time horizon. This abundance thinking allows patience. I don't have to chase. I don't have to force. I don't have to make a mediocre investment because I'm afraid there won't be better ones. I know better ones will come. They always do. Abundance. The scarcity thinker can't wait. They're afraid. What if this is the last chance? What if opportunities dry up? They make desperate decisions driven by fear of missing out. Abundance thinking also changes how you treat others. The scarcity thinker sees other successful people as threats. They took a piece of the limited pie. Their success came at your expense. The abundance thinker sees other successful people as proof of possibility. They expanded the pie. Their success shows what's achievable. This changes relationships. The scarcity thinker is jealous, competitive, guarded. The abundance thinker is supportive, collaborative, open. People prefer working with abundance thinkers, which creates more opportunity, which reinforces the abundance. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Think scarce, experience scarcity. Think abundant, experience abundance. How do you shift from scarcity to abundance? First, examine your beliefs. Do you really think there's not enough? Look at the evidence. Look at how much opportunity exists in the world. Look at how many ways there are to create value. The evidence supports abundance. Second, examine your language. Do you say, I can't afford it? Or, how can I afford it? Do you say that's impossible? Or how could that be possible? Language shapes thought. Abundant language creates abundant thinking. Third, examine your reactions. When someone else succeeds, do you feel jealous or inspired? Your reaction reveals your mindset. Practice feeling inspired. It rewires the scarcity response. The world is abundant. Money is abundant. Opportunity is abundant. Success is abundant. The limits are not in reality. They're in perception. Change the perception. Change the results. I've given you 9 mental patterns. Think in decades, not days. Extend your time horizon until the right decisions become obvious. Think in probabilities, not certainties. Embrace uncertainty and make decisions based on expected values. Think in systems, not events. Build structures that produce results automatically and continuously. Think in opportunities, not obstacles. Focus on what's possible, not what's preventing you. Think in value, not price. Analyze what you get relative to what you pay. Think in ownership, not labor. Acquire assets that generate income independent of your time. Think in learning, not knowing. Stay humble and keep updating your understanding forever. Think in independence, not consensus. Trust your own judgment over the crowd's opinion. Think in abundance, not scarcity. Believe in unlimited opportunity and act accordingly. These patterns aren't magic. They don't guarantee success. Nothing guarantees success, but they dramatically improve your odds. They align your thinking with reality. They help you see what others miss and act while others hesitate. The patterns can be learned. I wasn't born thinking this way. I developed these patterns over decades. Through reading, through practice, through making mistakes and correcting them. You can develop them too, faster than I did because someone's told you what to develop. I had to figure it out through trial and error. You can skip some of the error. Start with one pattern, the one that resonates most, the one that addresses your biggest weakness. Practice it consciously. Apply it to decisions. Notice when you're falling back into old thinking and correct. One pattern, mastered, will change your life. All 9 patterns mastered will transform it beyond recognition. The difference between billionaires and everyone else is in action. Action is easy to copy. The difference is thinking. Thinking is invisible, which is why nobody copies it. Now you've seen it. The invisible is visible. The patterns are explicit. What you do with them is up to you. But I'll tell you this. 20 years from now, you'll either be grateful you started changing your thinking today, or you'll wish you had. The thinking comes first. Everything else follows. Start now.